Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a very great day for Rice University. I must note that I think I speak for the entire Rice community in noting our sadness with the rest of the country over the passing of the widow of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Jack Hill Manassas, last night. So we join the entire nation in mourning her death. Happily, we have much better news this morning, and I do extend our warmest welcome to everyone, because this is truly a special occasion for Rice University and for Friends of Rice everywhere. As you all know, last year Rice committed to the development of a world-class center for the study of public policy, one that would be fully worthy of James A. Baker III, the 61st Secretary of State and a Rice governor, after whom the Institute has been named. The Baker Institute will capitalize on Rice's very strong tradition of interdisciplinary scholarship and teaching. It will bring together leading world figures from the world of ideas and the world of action to focus on major public policy issues. And the Baker Institute will materially contribute to the internationalization of Rice University. In the year and a half since its inception, the Baker Institute for Public Policy has already come a very long way. Thanks to the work of Secretary Baker, of Charles Duncan, John Rogers, and all the members of the Leadership Committee of the Baker Institute, we have raised about $26 million in private funds, over 3/4 of our fundraising goal. That is enough to ensure that the Baker Institute begins its life on a firm financial footing. We have retained an architect to begin design of a state-of-the-art facility to house the Baker Institute, one that, like all the other buildings that have been put up on this campus since Josephine Abercrombie began overseeing the architecture of this campus, one that will do the university and Houston proud. Today, with the naming of a director, we have reached yet another milestone in the development of the Institute. I have the great pleasure of announcing the appointment of Ambassador Edward P. Djerejian as the first director of the James A. Baker III Institute for Public Policy. I note also that he will hold the Janice and Robert McNair Chair in Public Policy. I would like especially to thank the Search Committee, and especially its two co-chairs, Bill Barnett and Jim Pomerantz, for their efforts, their unceasing efforts with the rest of the committee in identifying and interviewing and selecting candidates for this position, and for presenting me with a short list that was an embarrassment of riches. The Search Committee was charged with finding someone who, by experience and intellect and temperament, could not just lead, but truly energize and embody the Baker Institute. With Ed Djerejian, the Search Committee and Rice University found that individual. Ed has over 30 years' experience in foreign affairs, culminating in assignments as Ambassador to Syria, Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs, and currently, of course, the United States Ambassador to Israel. Ed Djerejian is truly one of the nation's most capable and trusted diplomats, an individual who truly straddles the world of ideas and the world of action. He has been on the front line in crafting and executing American foreign policy, whether working to release American hostages in Lebanon, or helping to forge the international coalition that defeated Saddam Hussein, or nurturing the Arab-Israeli process that today holds the promise that more and more swords every month will be beaten into plowshares in that formerly troubled region of the world. But Ed is also a thinker, a gifted linguist, as you will discover, and a foreign policy expert who knows that promoting American goals abroad demands a keen understanding of the complex political, economic, and social realities that our nation faces today. We are extremely important to have such an experienced diplomat and distinguished public servant in the Rice community. Ed is an individual who will make a real contribution to the Institute, to Rice, to Houston, an individual who will lead the Baker Institute to distinction in public policy scholarship and in teaching. I now ask Secretary James A. Baker to introduce the ambassador.
Called me to inform me he had decided to appoint Ed Djerejian as the director of the Baker Institute. I was frankly very, very delighted. I was delighted because I consider Ed to be quite simply one of the very finest public servants that I know, and I've met a lot of them in the 12 plus years that I served up there in Washington. Ed is an individual who has served this country, served this nation, served his country and nation with distinction in some of the toughest jobs that the country has to offer. I was also delighted because I know that Ed and Francoise and their two children, Gregory and Francesca, will make a real contribution to this community, to the Rice community, to the Houston community. But I was delighted most of all because I'm convinced that Ed is going to bring the kind of leadership to the Baker Institute necessary to make it a real success. Malcolm has given you Ed's qualifications and laid them out there for you, but let me suggest to you that Ed Djerejian is more than his resume, however impressive that resume is. Ed Djerejian is somebody who I can tell you from firsthand experience can get things done. I know that Ed Djerejian is capable of anything that he sets his mind to, and I know that Ed Djerejian is capable of making this institute a first-class world center for the study of public policy. So it's my distinct pleasure this morning and privilege to present to you Edward P. Djerejian, the director of the Baker Institute for Public Policy. Ed?
Very much. Secretary Baker, President Gillis, Mr. Duncan, Bill Barnett, Jim Pomerantz, many thanks for your extremely warm welcome to myself and my family. I would like to first introduce my family, my wife Francoise Djerejian, my son Gregory Djerejian, and my daughter Francesca Djerejian. I would like to thank President Malcolm Gillis, the Chairman of the Board of Trustees and Governors, Charles Duncan, Mr. Baker, and again, Bill Barnett and Jim Pomerantz, all who have been so involved and so supportive of my appointment. This is obviously a very important day in my life, one that marks both an end and a beginning. After 33 years of public service to our country in both the United States Army and the Foreign Service, I will be retiring from the government in August of this year and become the first director of the James A. Baker III Institute for Public Policy at this wonderful university, Rice University, where I will also be privileged to occupy the McNair University Chair of Public Policy, as President Gillis has mentioned. As I wrote in my letters submitting my retirement to President Clinton and Secretary of State Christopher, these have been exciting years, rewarding years, years that I look back on with a deep sense of satisfaction of having had the privilege to serve our country under 8 presidents. But above all, they were years of challenge. I see the Baker Institute as another such challenge, one to which I intend to dedicate myself fully in the months and years ahead. Indeed, this is a unique opportunity which comes, in my view, once in a lifetime, and which fulfills my personal aspirations and those of my family. My wife Francoise, my son Gregory, and my daughter Francesca are delighted to be here sharing this moment with you today. They have been a tremendous source of strength and inspiration to me throughout my career. We are now beginning what we are confident will be a very productive, meaningful, and exciting endeavor to achieve the goals of the Baker Institute for Public Policy. Over a century ago, Herman Melville commented that we are not a nation so much as a world. His words are even more relevant today in our increasingly interdependent world. Drawing on the considerable strengths of Rice University, the Baker Institute, as an international center for the study of public policy, will help expand the university's already well-established and distinguished role in the service of the greater community, locally here in Houston, regionally in the Southwest, nationally, and on a global scale. As Secretary Baker has stated elsewhere, this is a moment of historic decision at home and abroad. With the end of the Cold War and as we approach the dawn of the 21st century, we as a people and a great nation are becoming increasingly confronted with unique and urgent challenges which go well beyond the traditional distinctions between domestic and foreign policy. We need to define the problems and issues more clearly, in a nonpartisan way and beyond conventional thinking. Indeed, we need to enhance our ability to make realistic policy choices and promote United States interests and United States values. I pledge to do my very best to assure that the Institute brings what Mr. Baker has described as a compelling voice to our national dialogue in the years ahead. To be sure, we can and will bridge the world of ideas and action, foreign and domestic policy, of the public and private sectors, and amongst the academic disciplines. We can and will make a difference by bringing together in an intellectually free but focused manner scholars and practitioners, including leading voices from academia, government, the media, business, and non-governmental organizations. The research agenda we establish at the Institute will be a critical factor affecting our work. It will necessarily address not only general international and domestic trends, but also specific issues and challenges with a view toward elaborating effective strategies to promote United States interests. In this respect, as Arthur Burns noted, the government officials whom you meet or read about inevitably live on the intellectual capital that is already being formed and nurtured at our universities. In his inaugural address, President Malcolm Gillis referred to founding President Edgar Odell Lovett's advice to set no upper limits to Rice's educational endeavor. In that spirit, and under the guidance of Mr. Baker and with the support of the Board of Trustees and Governors, I look forward to working closely with President Gillis and the outstanding faculty, staff, and students of Rice University to achieve these goals and to make the Baker Institute one of the very best fora for public policy in the world, and to ensure that the Institute is something of which we can all be proud. On behalf of my wife and family, allow me to express how deeply we appreciate your confidence and the warmth of your reception and hospitality here in Houston. Thank you very much.
This has been a great week for Rice leadership, already quite strong. We have Ed today. Our new provost arrived last night, detained by the necessity of having to officiate at his present university's graduation exercises at Columbia. And I believe that, David and Claudette arrived last night about 8:30. Is that right, David? Did you, Claudette? Please stand. David Austin. Reception in the foyer outside. There will be no receiving line. Please just mix and mingle. Thank you very much.